There are moments in your life when everything feels chaotic, doors close without explanation, people misunderstand you. Opportunities disappear just when you thought they were yours. You pray, you wait, you question. And in those quiet moments of doubt, a dangerous thought begins to whisper, maybe I'm alone. But what if you're not alone? What if there is a battle happening that you cannot see? What if heaven is moving in ways your eyes cannot yet understand? God has chosen you, not because you are perfect, not because you have everything figured out, but because you carry something inside you that this world needs. You were not created randomly. You were designed intentionally. Every gift, every strength, even every struggle, it all has purpose. But being chosen does not mean life will be easy. In fact, it often means the opposite. When you are chosen, you are targeted. When you carry purpose, resistance appears. When you are meant for impact, opposition rises. The pressure you feel is not proof that you are failing. It may be proof that you are dangerous to the darkness. There is a spiritual battle that happens beyond your physical sight. While you are worrying, while you are stressing, while you are questioning your worth, there may be forces fighting on your behalf. Protection you never saw, delays that saved you, closed doors that prevented disaster. You call it coincidence, but what if it was protection? Your angel is fighting for clarity in your confusion, fighting for strength when you feel weak, fighting to redirect you when you are walking towards something that would break you. But here is the question that matters most: are you listening? Because protection does not always feel comfortable. Sometimes the answer to your prayer is wait. Sometimes the answer is not that person. Sometimes the answer is not yet. And sometimes the answer is silence, not because heaven is ignoring you, but because heaven is positioning you. Listening requires stillness. And stillness is something this world does not encourage. The world tells you to rush, to react, to chase, to panic. But spiritual awareness grows in quiet moments. When you slow down, when you disconnect from noise, when you pray not just to speak, but to hear. Many people talk to God. Few people pause long enough to listen. You say you want guidance, but are you making room for it? You ask for signs, but are you paying attention to the subtle shifts, the uneasy feeling in your spirit, the repeated message you keep hearing, the door that won't open no matter how hard you push? Sometimes the answer is already there, but your emotions are louder than your intuition. Being chosen means you are called to a higher standard. It means you cannot move the way everyone else moves. You cannot settle the way others settle. You cannot ignore your conscience and expect peace. There is a responsibility that comes with purpose. The battles in your life may not be punishment. They may be preparation. The delays may not be rejection. They may be protection. The struggle may not be a sign to quit. It may be evidence that something valuable is being built inside you. Strength is not built in comfort. Faith is not built in certainty. Faith is built when you keep walking even when you cannot see the whole path. When you trust even when the outcome is unclear. When you choose belief over fear. And here is something powerful: you are not fighting alone. Even when you feel isolated, even when you feel misunderstood, even when you feel tired, there is help you cannot see. There is guidance you may not recognize. There is protection you may never fully understand. But you must align yourself. You cannot live in constant distraction and expect divine direction. You cannot ignore your conviction, expect clarity. You cannot ask for protection while repeatedly walking into what harms you. Listening requires obedience. And obedience requires humility. Ask yourself honestly, have I been listening? Or have I been insisting on my own way? Sometimes the reason you feel restless is because you are out of alignment. Sometimes the anxiety is not about fear. It is about misdirection. And when you realign, peace returns. Not because problems disappear, but because your spirit recognizes that you are walking in the right direction. God choosing you does not mean you will avoid storms. It means the storm will not destroy you. It means what was meant to break you will build you instead. It means that even your mistakes can be redirected into lessons. Your angel fighting does not mean you can live carelessly. It means you are supported when you move with faith. It means doors will open when timing is right. It means certain attacks will never reach you because they were stopped before you even knew they existed. But awareness matters, gratitude matters, discipline matters. Listen more closely. Pay attention to patterns. Notice what drains you. Notice what strengthens you. Notice where peace exists and where chaos follows. Those signals are not random. You are chosen for growth, chosen for impact, chosen for transformation. But the transformation begins with awareness. Are you listening when your spirit says slow down? Are you listening when your heart says walk away? Are you listening when opportunities feel forced instead of natural? Are you listening when peace leaves the room? The battle may not be yours to fight alone, but alignment is your responsibility. And when you begin to listen, truly listen, something shifts. You move differently. You decide differently. You react differently. You trust more deeply. You fear less intensely. You stop chasing everything. You stop forcing everything. You start trusting timing. You start walking with confidence. Because when you know you are chosen, you stop begging for validation. When you know you are protected, you stop living in panic. When you know there is support beyond what you see, you stop doubting every step. So today, pause. Be still long enough to hear. Be humble enough to adjust. Be brave enough to obey. Because maybe the fight has already begun on your behalf. Maybe doors are being moved right now. Maybe protection is already in place. The only question left is, will you listen? There are nights when you lay awake staring at the ceiling, asking questions you don't say out loud during the day. Questions about your future, about your purpose, about why certain people walked away, about why certain doors closed. You replay conversations in your head, you analyze moments. You wonder if you missed something, and in those silent hours, doubt tries to settle into your spirit. It tells you that maybe you misunderstood your calling, maybe you are not as chosen as you once believed, maybe you created hope that was never real. But listen carefully. Doubt is loudest when destiny is closest. The pressure you feel right now is not random. It is not meaningless. Pressure reveals what is inside you. It forces growth. It strengthens muscles you did not know you had. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Gold is refined in fire. And character is built in adversity. You are not being crushed. You are being shaped. When you are chosen, your life will not look ordinary. There will be seasons of isolation. Seasons where it feels like you are walking alone. Seasons where the support you expected does not show up. And that isolation is not abandonment, it is preparation. Because sometimes the only way for you to hear clearly is when the noise leaves. There are battles you never saw. Arguments that could have destroyed your reputation but never reached you. Accidents that almost happened but didn't. Relationships that could have broken but ended early. Opportunities that looked perfect but quietly disappeared. You thought you were unlucky. You thought you were rejected. But what if you were being rescued? Protection does not always feel like a blessing in the moment. Sometimes it feels like disappointment. Sometimes it feels like delay. Sometimes it feels like heartbreak. But years later, when clarity arrives, you realize that what you lost was never meant to stay. And yet, even knowing this, you still struggle to trust, because you are human. You want certainty. You want visible proof. You want guarantees. But faith does not operate at guarantees. Faith operates on trust. Trust means moving forward without full understanding. Trust means choosing obedience even when it costs comfort. Trust means releasing what you want for what you need. And that is where listening becomes critical. Are you listening to the subtle discomfort when something is wrong? Or are you ignoring it because you want the outcome so badly? Are you listening when peace disappears? Or are you forcing situations because you fear being alone? Being chosen means you cannot ignore your inner warning system. You cannot repeatedly silence your conscience and expect divine clarity. Every time you ignore that inner voice, you create distance between yourself and direction. The angel fighting for you cannot override your free will. Protection can redirect you, but it cannot force you. Doors can close, but you can still try to break them open. Warnings can appear, but you can choose to dismiss them. And sometimes the greatest spiritual battle is not happening around you. It is happening within you. It is the battle between fear and faith, between impatience and trust, between ego and surrender, between control and obedience. You want elevation, but elevation requires purification. You want growth, but growth requires discomfort. You want purpose, but purpose requires sacrifice. Look at your life honestly. The challenges you faced 5 years ago, you survived them. The heartbreak you thought would destroy you, you healed from it. The failures you believed defined you, they refined you instead. You are stronger than you think, and that strength did not come from ease. It came from endurance. There are moments when you feel unseen, when your effort goes unnoticed, when your integrity feels unrewarded, when your prayers feel unanswered. And in those moments, it is tempting to give up, to lower your standards, to move like everyone else, to stop believing that you are set apart. But being chosen means you are called to consistency, not convenience, even when no one claps. Even when no one notices, even when no one understands. Your obedience in private builds power in public. The world celebrates outcomes. Heaven watches character. And here is the deeper truth. Sometimes the delay you are experiencing is because you are not yet ready for what you are asking for. Not because you are incapable, but because growth is still happening. If you received everything instantly, you might lose it just as quickly. Preparation is protection. Imagine receiving a blessing that your mindset is not mature enough to handle. Imagine stepping into a position without the discipline to sustain it. Imagine entering a relationship without the emotional stability to nurture it. Sometimes the wait is not punishment, it is mercy. But waiting tests you. It tests your patience. It tests your faith. It tests your consistency. It tests whether you will remain aligned when results are invisible. And alignment matters more than speed. You do not need to move fast. You need to move right. The world is full of people rushing into things they were not prepared for. And then they call the consequences bad luck. But you are being taught to move with awareness. Your angel may be fighting unseen battles, but you must fight visible ones. The battle of discipline, the battle of self-control, the battle of listening before reacting, the battle of choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. And when you begin to truly listen, something shifts internally. You feel calmer, not because problems vanish, but because you recognize guidance. You begin to see patterns more clearly. You begin to understand that every setback carried a lesson. Every delay carried direction. Every heartbreak carried wisdom. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this teaching me? That shift changes everything. You were not chosen to blend in. You were chosen to grow through what others avoid, to trust when others panic, to wait when others rush, to believe when others doubt. And even now, in the middle of uncertainty, something is moving, something is aligning, something is preparing. You may not see it yet, but not seeing does not mean not working. The sun is still present even when clouds cover it. So if you feel pressure, do not assume defeat. If you feel isolation, do not assume abandonment. If you feel delay, do not assume denial. Pause. Reflect. Reline. Ask yourself again, am I listening? Because clarity does not shout, it whispers. Direction does not it nudges. Protection does not always explain itself. But when you pay attention, you begin to notice the pattern of preservation over destruction. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still growing. And that alone is evidence that the fight is not over. Stay aware. Stay disciplined. Because if you are truly chosen, then your story is still unfolding. And maybe, just maybe, the breakthrough you are praying for is closer than your doubt wants you to believe.